People are always asking me about the third eye or the pineal gland. It was kind of my main thing back in the days of early YouTube. I haven't really made videos extensively about it because it's an experience which is so alien. It's taken me, I don't know, it's been about 10 or 15 years, and I'm still trying to understand what it is that happened to me and what it is that's going on inside of my head. But what I can do is kind of explain my inner experience. Unfortunately, there's really not much material anywhere about the third eye. Certainly not much stuff which is comprehensible or put in plain language whatsoever. Most of the people that talk about it, I think, are bullshitting. So start by talking about my experience. This kind of all started when I was about 23, 24. I was sitting outside meditating, and a bolt of lightning, not actual lightning, but some kind of energy came over the top of my head and went through my body. Lasted for a couple minutes, but progressively as I kept meditating and practicing, first there was a little tingle in my forehead, and then spread out through my brain, and then it went through my chakras into my lower centers. I later understood that this is the central channel with the two nadis, which the prana life force comes in through the nose and it kind of coalesces into the third eye. And then travels down through the chakras, kind of energizing them step by step, which is a whole thing. That's a whole alchemical process. So again, I'm gonna try to go through my experience along with what I know from my faith, Tibetan Buddhism, and other occult sources. So as it's like the Philosopher's Stone, right? It's like an alchemical power of transmutation. As this light goes through each of the chakras, you have kind of like archetypal, emotional, karmic. There's gunk, right? There's blockages, or as they say in Tibetan Buddhism, knots in the nadis, in the channels which comprise the chakras. So while you're meditating with the third eye, you're kind of internally, you're kind of feeling unconscious stuff come up, which as this light penetrates through the centers, each of the centers has a kind of in Tibetan Buddhism we would say like a wisdom. And it's not as easy as, like, you know, these little maps that they put out on the internet of like, this is communication and this is intuition. You have to deeply feel, and this again, this is a visceral and real process that I'm describing. You have to deeply and viscerally feel and even see to understand and to experience what that we're talking about. So everything that you think you know, forget about it. Throw all that shit out the window. When you practice, these experiences, you know, as part of the progression will unfold. And only with really fixing your awareness completely on the actual channels, the actual body of light, the actual kundalini, as it progresses, do you gain knowledge of what that's all about. Anything you can think about conceptually to add to it, forget about it. The wisdom is self-arisen. It's self-explanatory. So I'm getting a little sidetracked. Let's talk about just my experience without any of my, I'll try to give as little conjecture as possible. So right now, as I'm sitting here with my eyes closed, regardless of the light in my face, even I would see it even more intensely if the light was off, is a deep blue light. Like on the inside is blue, and it's very slow ripple of like turquoise green as well. As I now experience this as the head chakra and the heart chakra is blue and turquoise. I know that not from looking at a picture. I know that from my inner awareness. So in the center of my head, I mean, you call it the pineal gland. Pineal gland is in the center of the brain, but most of the third eye, what you feel, is in the neocortex in the forehead. Which neocortex, of course, is concerned with abstract thought and all kinds of that type of abstract intelligence. This is my main object of meditation. I don't need to do any abstract kind of meditation. And this is the highest type of meditation, also the highest plateau of Hatha Yoga or Dzogchen, where you simply fix your awareness on the manifestation, the display of the primordial absolute reality. So all I have to do is fix my awareness internally on the pineal gland. All of my conceptual thought ceases. My ego and shadow aren't there. They can't exist in that space. So everything you've known about, who I am and what I am, it's still there, but it's not there. You see a crystalline structure with, this kind of neon light. Again, for me, it's like a deep sapphire blue, some turquoise. So it's like a deep lucidity, and by fixing my awareness on it, all of my lower vibrational emotions, stuff that makes you angry usually, or things that you're prideful about, all these insecurities and stuff like that, they dissolve, and you're flooded with an overwhelming, not even bliss or peace, it's ecstasy. It's an ecstatic pleasure. And this kind of goes in tandem with like a liquid. It's like a magnetic liquid which is dripping down the central channel. In Tibetan Buddhism, we call this the bodhicitta drops. Lama Yeshe said the bodhicitta drop just basically means kundalini. And there's two bodhicitta drops, a white bodhicitta drop and a red bodhicitta drop. So I'm talking about the white bodhicitta drop. So I don't want to speculate too much, just want to describe my inner experience, but the red bodhicitta is like the feminine, the matter and the form, and the white bodhicitta is masculine. It's like consciousness, like Shiva. So it's like Shiva and Shakti. So Shiva's, it's non-dual wisdom. It's a profound, lucid knowingness that you and the primordial consciousness are one and the same. So as you fix your mind on this internally more and more, that little old me, that name and form fixation from the ego and shadow and the self and the not self, it becomes like someone outside. You're like inside of a building, and it's like those things are like chattering from outside the window. It's like you can hear something, but it doesn't enter your awareness. So even more, you see a form, and it becomes apparent to you that this is your form. Whether you want to call it a light body or whatever, it's a form of light. You see yourself as a kind of crystalline, etheric light. Now, again, none of these lights, in Tibetan Buddhism we call them wisdom lights, none of them are on a physical level. So you're not going to be able to measure them with any physical instruments. This is all, on a higher plane, on a spiritual plane, which is very real. And, again, it overwhelms your physical consciousness. When you're fixing your awareness on these lights and this form, again, which, even though it's your form, you understand that it's like, it's one awareness. It's a display of non-dual consciousness, which is local in that, it has your uniqueness. You can see things which are relevant to you. Like if I'm close with somebody, sometimes when I'm like laying down before I go to sleep, I'll see them in my mind's eye. I'll see them in the third eye, or I'll feel their energy out of nowhere, right? Their vibes. And then I'll see like a display. It almost looks like a little cartoon, which I understand to be like, their past lives and things like that. So, people talk about the Akashic records or whatnot, but it's apparent that on this plane, it's outside of time and space, right? We can say that. And the consciousness is kind of coming from that plane. So when we die, we don't go to another type of temporal before, after, present. We go to like a out of time and unite kind of with the pure soul, and then the soul doesn't recognize itself, and it goes into another body. And so it's through this like kind of out of time soul that the mind extends itself. And so you could say that this is like your form thought, your physical body, and this is your thought form, right? At the very beginning of conception, the spark of your awareness, it's like a blueprint that extends outwards and becomes the physical form. And so even within the physical form, you have all these chakras and channels and whatnot, and people are like, what the hell is going on? That's the inner thought form of your soul, which extends outwardly. And again, most of this, again, is a combination of things that I picked up from my experience and reflecting, along with studying mostly Eastern mysticism. I get the feeling that it's like a united field of consciousness, and that if you sit here with me and be present with me, and you focus on the area in the center of your brain, I have a feeling that we'll see and experience the same sensations and feel the same feelings. Now, I don't want to use too many, new agey words and stuff like that, but in that sense, it's kind of, a gateway or a portal between, duality and non-duality. So again, back to my experience and my how I experience the third eye. It's a blissful nectar is just concentrated on my forehead. It never stops. All through the days, constantly, I have a vortex of this blissful nectar, which just drips down my central channel into the other centers. And it brings me up into this one-pointedness on the non-dual primordial consciousness, and this eternity, this stability, which is like it's completely outside of time and space. So it's like the thing which externalizes the soul. It's the thing which is trying to be revealed. It's like a powerhouse, like a powerhouse of your higher dimensional form. So, cities like astral travel and remote viewing and things like that, absolutely attainable via the third eye. Again, and how that works, I can only talk to my experience. The third eye, to me, it feels like a nuclear power plant, and the energy that enables all of this radiation of your consciousness is emitted from the Kundalini as it is united with the third eye. Now, of course, like I mentioned, there's a red bodhicitta drop which ascends up the spine and meets with the third eye. So when these two meet, of course, this nuclear power plant which fashions, your soul's ideal, which corrects all of the complexes and resolves all of the pain and karma born out of all of our lifetimes as all these various states of consciousness, of suffering, hell, hungry ghosts, lower gods and other humans. This nuclear powerhouse resolves all of the karma of those past lives, all of the soul's energy which is just trapped in those past lives, resolves all of them and fashions from out of that raw data a perfectly ideal bodhisattva, an enlightened being, a Buddha. So, in short, it's an alchemical process. It's the Philosopher's Stone, which transmutes the base lead of your body into the gold of an immortal light body. I have full faith in saying that through the pineal gland, you will attain immortality. Not in the physical body necessarily, but you will build a matrix of your consciousness as a golden light body capable of existing within heaven, within those higher dimensions. So follow me for more to come.